Everyone's disappointed, but let's start with City through to a 7th straight FA Cup semi-final. Stephen, how big would the inquest have been, though, had they been knocked out with the season that they've had?
Watch out there, Rob.
Just
caused a problem on set there. To be honest with you, I think there'll be an inquest anyway with the season, the way it's been, just because of the standard that Manchester City have set in the past. I think had they gone out, would that have been a huge surprise this season? I don't think it would have been, just because of the way that they've been playing. So I don't think there'd have been a huge inquest just into that single-handedly had they have gone out. I think come the end of the season, I think there'll be a lot of thought process as to how things have happened at City, why they've happened. I don't think it'll just be from within the club. I think it'll be from the outside media, everyone else looking at them as well and wondering what has actually gone on there.
Yeah, because I think it's fair to say the changes at half-time clearly made a difference. But how surprised were you, Sue, by the quality they had on the first half and the importance of trying to win a trophy this season of their first half performance?
Yeah, saying that, they still probably could have been 3-0 up before Bournemouth scored with obviously the penalty. I think Haaland then had a couple of other opportunities as well. And we always knew that Bournemouth were going to give them a game, the way that they play, how intense they are, the energy that they have on and off the ball. So I think we always knew it was going to be a tough game. But yeah, you've got to praise Pep Guardiola and the changes that he made, because I was watching that game and I think what it has highlighted is Manchester City certainly do need a right back, and teams are certainly highlighting, aren't they? When Nunes plays, you can see that teams will really focus on that side of the pitch. So I thought when he was going to make changes, I thought he probably would have come off, but the fact that he didn't take the obvious player off. He took Kusanov off. He then moved. It was Guardiola, wasn't it, into that centre defence with Diaz. And obviously Nico O'Reilly, when he came on, he was brilliant, and he was obviously asked to go as high as he possibly could. He said if the winger comes inside, you go outside, and vice versa. So he obviously gave him that instruction to do that. And as attacking midfielder, he's got that quality when he got on the ball. But I just think the way he reshuffled things, I thought they gained that control in the centre of defence. They also gained the control in the central areas of midfield. De Bruyne got on the ball a little bit more. So he didn't quite do the obvious thing that I thought of. He did something slightly different, tweak things personnel and tactically, and certainly turned the game around.
Well, let's talk about Nico O'Reilly. Nico, 00. And he's squad number 75, so it's 0075. He was on a mission to thrill. What difference did he make? Was there clearly more desire from him, perhaps, than elsewhere on the pitch?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I really like him. I think he's physically, he's built for the Premier League. I think you look at his stature, he will actually fill out and he will get stronger. But when I watch him, it's very difficult to say, did he have more desire? Sometimes it's easier coming on at half-time, having seen the first half from the periphery and sort of watching from the outside a little bit and seeing where you can exploit things. Then you've also got the manager talking to you during half-time, telling you what he expects of you when you come on. Sometimes when you're caught up in the first half of a game, as in the starting 11, it's very difficult to fix things on the pitch within that game. Within that moment, but he came onto the pitch, obviously had a huge effect. I think physically, ability-wise, getting forward, I think we see that quality that he's got. The ball in for Haaland and then the assist for Marmoush, I think the lovely little reverse with the outside of the foot for the second goal. So there's definitely quality there. I think what Guardiola was desperate for in that game was to get the two fullbacks to push their wingers back as far as possible. And he just felt that having that balance and that stability at the back with Guardiola and Diaz would allow them to do that. So, but from O'Reilly's point of view, I think he's been brilliant whenever he's played. I think he's shown he's got quality. I think, again, it's almost, I'm not putting him in the bracket of Phil Foden, but you've got to be careful how you play him and when you play him and drip feed him in. And Guardiola's doing that as and when he feels is the right opportunity to do it. But yeah, great effect that he had on the game.
Yeah, because he's played kind of mixed levels this season. I think he's played for he's played in the Football League Trophy, hasn't he, for the kind of under-21s team. So he's had that balance and that progression. He was only 20 10 days ago.
Yeah.
So he's still very young. But did he send perhaps a message to the rest of his teammates if this is the kind of level of performance that's required here?
Well, I think as a young player coming into a top side like that, you've just got to perform and take your opportunity whenever it presents itself, and he's certainly done that by making an impact. He made an impact in the last round, didn't he, by scoring the goals. This time he's come on and created the assists, and it just seems like he's just a player that wants to learn and wants to listen. Even just listening to his interview after, when he was saying, this is what Pep Guardiola told me to do, and I went and I did that, because it's not his position. He's an attacking midfielder, but to go on and play at left back, but a very attacking left back, and showing his qualities. Yeah, I thought you've got to praise him, and I think Pep said, didn't he, in his interview afterwards, he's got to play in the next game. So that's what you've got to do, isn't it? You've got to, whether that was a joke, it could have been, but he's just got to try and put himself in that position to play as much as he possibly can. Yeah,
perhaps playing. We wait and see. Perhaps not playing in the next game is Erling Haaland. He did get his goal, but as Sue was saying, he missed chances, including that penalty in the first half. He was also injured in this game. Reports of him walking out in a protective boot. If they are to reach the final, do they need him to be fit?
Ideally, yeah, because they'll want opportunities to fall for him. I think it's interesting when you look at good strikers, and obviously Haaland's record's phenomenal, but if you look at the two best strikers in world football over the history of the game, you look at Ronaldo and Messi, and their actual shot conversion rate to opportunities created is probably about 1 in 6, 1 in 7. When you think of the goals that they score, you almost feel like they score every chance that they get. They don't. It's just that they get that many chances, whether it's created by themselves individually or by the team. So Haaland's no different. He's going to miss opportunities, but he is clinical at times when he gets given those opportunities. I think obviously when he misses, he gets quite frustrated, and we saw the finish for the goal. It was a lovely ball in, and you just expected him to finish that one. The other two were probably a little bit more difficult in the way that they came to him. But yeah, they will worry about him, but obviously Marmoush came on, had an effect, but you still want that presence if they are to obviously hopefully have him fit for the semi-final.
It's how you sorry, I was just going to say, it's how you react to those misses as well, isn't it? That's the best strikers, that they'll miss an opportunity, but how do you then react? And the way that he reacts is, that he's going to put himself in another position to try and get that chance, and most of the time he'll take it. And the way that he talks about when he's missed an opportunity against a certain goalkeeper or a certain team, he's really worked on it, that when he plays them in the next game, he knows exactly what to do. So, that's obviously the sign of a world-class striker.
Yeah, we've chatted about Nico O'Reilly, and you mentioned Marmoush there as well. Came on, got a goal. With these kind of players, that we begin to get a glimpse of what this City rebuild might look like.
Yeah, I think that's what we've said, isn't it? That it is something that Manchester City are doing the rebuild. They probably had to start it that little bit earlier, but yeah, bringing in Marmoush, he's certainly a player that can have a massive impact in games, and he's got that real sort of quality that when he comes on, he'll make an impact. If he starts, he'll make an impact, and he'll only get better the more game time he has, and the more time he has working with the players around him.
I think the big thing for me watching that game yesterday was, again, we talk about the Rodri position, but it's not Rodri, it's the other players now. Bernardo Silva, incredible on the ball. Gundogan, incredible on the ball. De Bruyne, exactly the same. It's off the ball. They can't get back in. They can't recover the way they used to. I'm watching Bernardo Silva yesterday, I'm thinking, wow, this is a stark reality as to how quickly the game can change and how quickly it can catch up on you. And it's quite concerning that's the position that City are really struggling in, is that central position. They need more numbers in midfield. They've got to get players. In the first half, and there was occasions where Bournemouth players were gliding past them, and there was an athleticism difference between the team.
Is that father time?
Yes. Yeah, 100% it is. It's almost as well. You'd like to rotate them players more, and he's not being able to do that, which would have kept them fresher, probably wouldn't have them as heavy-legged. So I think there's an element of just that squad depth as well hasn't been there for them, and that's probably caught up on them a little bit this season. It's not to say that next season they won't look fresher, stronger. They've all come off the back of long summers as well, and that also catches up on you in time.
Yeah. Given the teams left in, Manchester City favourites, despite Forest being higher than them
Yeah.
in the league, they're still favourites to win this. Is that a good thing, or does that add extra pressure on, considering what's happened to City this season?
I just think that they're used to that pressure. The manager, the players, they're used to that. They've set the bar so high in previous seasons that they're used to going and winning trophies. So they won't care about that. And I think the fact that they have got the experience of winning trophies, maybe that is the reason that they are favourites for it. So yeah, it's obviously going to be difficult for them. We said that this game was going to be difficult, and it was at times. Bournemouth did make it like that. They probably just run out of legs. I think Bournemouth missing sort of key players as well in their side. So yeah, I don't think that will bother them at all, being sort of said that they are favourites.
I think they'd be disappointed if they weren't favourites. I think there'd be an element of it's a little bit of a lack of respect. I think
that would spur them on even more if they weren't favourites.
Yeah, quite possibly. But I think on the form guide, you'd say they're probably not favourites, but because of the history of what they've done in recent seasons, that's where they deserve that respect to be almost favourites. But I'd say there's a couple of teams ahead of them at the moment within that grouping of teams left in who are probably more favourable.
Well, history of what's gone on before in previous seasons is all about perspective, isn't it? And if you say to any other team, maybe win an FA Cup, finish in the top 5, go on to play in the Champions League next season, that would be an amazing. I saw the scenes. Wonderful scenes in Newcastle at the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, over 300,000 people on the streets cheering on a Carabao Cup final win. But if City were to go on and win the FA Cup, does that salvage their season, or is there still a sense that this season has been a failure?
I think for their level it would be deemed as a disappointment. I don't think it's a failure because you're winning an FA Cup with very strong teams within the competition. I think what it does is it papers over a few cracks. And I think we saw that last season with the winners last year. When you look at Manchester United winning the FA Cup and you think that papered over a lot of cracks, and it left Ten Hag in a job when he probably shouldn't have stayed within a job. That was a one-off game. Over the course of a season, which is what we are going to judge Manchester City on, is have they been at the level that we expect of them? Absolutely not. So again, it's that why has it been that way, or what has sort of happened to them, and why has it happened? I think we all know that there needs to be an overhaul of the squad, and it needs probably a little bit of youthful players brought into that squad. But I just think over the course of the season they'll be disappointed the way things have gone. But you always want to bank a trophy. You always want an FA Cup or some type of cup within the trophy cabinet, because you've got to continue that success throughout the club, and that breeds success in the future.
Yeah, let's turn our attention to Bournemouth. We heard from Andoni Iraola there saying it was very disappointing. Their fans will be disappointed. However, there is the kind of feeling that the more successful they are, Bournemouth, the more perhaps the danger is of Iraola being poached by another club, which they desperately wouldn't want. Is that a fair comment? Go out in the quarters, excellent, keep hold of Iraola. Is what I'd be thinking if I was at Bournemouth. Phew, thank goodness for that.
Well, of course you want to keep hold of him because he's brilliant, and already he's getting linked with other jobs, and that's because he's doing such a fantastic job. So yeah, that's where Bournemouth fans probably just don't want to talk about him too much and say what an amazing job he is doing. But you can say the results recently have maybe dropped off a little bit, but overall they've had a fantastic season. We've praised them again and again on this show. The way that they, off the ball, the intensity and the energy that they play at, the way that they move the ball forward, the way that they've dealt with so many injuries to key players. Because even yesterday, missing Kirkes, who's been absolutely outstanding for them. They also missed Haaland, if that's how you pronounce it, yeah. Huysen at the back. Both of those two have been outstanding for them. So you're missing key players again, and yet they're still performing and giving Manchester City a game. So, yeah, of course you're going to be disappointed. It was an opportunity to go to Wembley and progress in the FA Cup. But I think overall you can very much see that this is a team moving forward.
Will Iraola be in charge of Bournemouth for the first game of next season?
question.
Glad you got that one.
Yeah, no. Well, the one thing I was going to say is he won't be judged on just that game yesterday. Over the course of the season, he's been incredible.
Yeah.
I think the wider question is if he does leave, will it be the Premier League or will it be further afield? Will he have had suitors in Spain now that are looking, thinking, God, he's exceeded expectations in the Premier League. What can he do here in Spain? What can he do in Italy? I think there'll be bigger suitors for him as well elsewhere. Will he be there next season? I'd like to say yes, because I'd like to think he'll think another year at a club like Bournemouth will stand him in good stead. However, I think as a manager, those doors sometimes don't always open the way you want them to, and you've got to, when they do open, you've got to strike while the iron's hot, because he might not have a great start to next season. Suddenly them jobs aren't there for him. I'll say no, he's not going to be there. Sue was going to answer then.
I'm busy. No, I wasn't.
You were?
I'm busy. I think it's time for a break.
OK. Oh, we'll do that. Your wish is my command, as always, Susan.
We'll come back to it after the break.
Yeah, come back and go, will he? All right, so City in the semi-final.